Hello, everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness, and I'm excited to be here. It is holiday season, and there's so much for me to be grateful for. And I'm especially grateful because not only do we have one guest, but we have two today, two special guests, and I'm just going to introduce them, Wendy Rose and Sam Haynes. Let's bring them on and get to know them better. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello.
So happy to be here.
Great to be here.
You got four guests. You've got our kitty cats are with us too. So.
Oh, there's two. I thought there was only the one. Oh, that's even better. So much fun. So I would love for you to share a little bit about yourselves and your own wellness journey.
So lots to share, lots to talk about. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and what a journey it's been. So I've been on my conscious journey much of my life. I've had many opportunities to check in on my health and do really well, and I've had lots of opportunities in my life where I've done the opposite and really neglected myself. I liked your intro. It really hit upon it's not just it's more broccolis and burpees. It involves the soul. It involves living full out. And so life is a huge trip. It's so much fun, and it can be devastatingly challenging at times too. So what I've really enjoyed about my journey is not only having a good physical journey, but also being able to incorporate the mindset and the spirituality and the emotional, and really learn how to live in a fuller spectrum as a human being. I think has been special. The last 10 years of my life has been the work of it, really putting all the pieces together and cleaning up all the things that were still out of whack, out of balance, and causing pain, heartache, distraction, all the things that can take you out of the game of life, right? So some details. I grew up running. I ran cross country for 13 years. I grew up in a family business. So a lot of hard work, a lot of things going on there, and not a whole lot of mindset around taking care of the physical body in terms of maybe giving it the rest when there was pain. It wasn't too brutal. I've definitely had friends who have a much more brutal physical story than I do, but some of the things that were out of whack was emotions. The mind-body emotion connection was just not talked about. If it was aware, it was subliminally aware. Spirituality was a thing, but these pieces didn't really come together. Spirituality was devout, it was dutiful, it was obedient, good informative things, but didn't really give me permission to claim my health. It kind of gave me a set of rules and a container to walk in, and best of luck to you. And you kind of take what comes your way, and you hope to pray to God or apply some leverage in it. But there was really no steering wheel or any kind of way of feeling like I was in charge of my journey. So a lot of my life, I accepted more pain and more struggle than I really had to, as it turns out. And so the last 10 years have really been about breaking all the stories I was living with, finding out what meanings I wanted to walk with, and learning how to give my body, my mind, my heart a way to come together, while also giving opportunities for growth and healing to happen. And so I've learned lots of new skills that go into that, which we'll talk about. And I've learned things about my diet, and I've learned things about my pain that I thought I knew that I've gotten to relearn. One of the biggest things, I worked with a wonderful gentleman in London, David Thunder, this past year, who really helped both of us take mastery of our bodies. He's got this amazing program, and I learned that I don't have to live in pain. And through a bunch of really cool processes, I was able to neurologically remap my body. My brain is a whole new functionality within my body. And I've been able to clear pain that I just thought I was going to live with. I mean, I'd cleared out the gluten from my body, so inflammation had gone down. I was at the best I could, but we were still kind of surviving on chiropractics and ibuprofen up until the beginning of this year, and figuring we knew there was a better way, but we just didn't have a certain piece. And so sometimes it's the people that come into your life at certain times who have the pieces you need. And that's been really cool too, because now they're associates, colleagues, and friends, because they've changed our lives. So I know there's a lot of things we could tuck into there and around, but I think it's a pretty good place to start. Anything you want to dig into, or shall we give over and let Wendy have some space here?
Yeah, let's hear from Wendy. But before Wendy talks, I just want to say what you said absolutely resonated with me. And I think so many listeners and viewers will just appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable about your own journey, because a lot, especially men, don't talk about it as much. So thank you for sharing that. But Wendy, I would love to hear from you.
This is really great. Thank you so much. So my journey, for over 26 years, I've been in the holistic healing arts field. And, but it really started as a child, my path. And I lived in a household that was very abusive, not so much physically, but mentally and emotionally. My father had left when I was just a child, so I had that imprint of abandonment very young. And I had a mother who had a very wounded childhood, and so she brought all those woundedness into the household that I lived in. And I was a very sensitive child, an empath. So I could feel other people's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So even though maybe they looked like they had it all together on the outside, but on the inside, and actually as a child, I could just feel and actually see darkness or clouds around people.
Mm.
And so I became very withdrawn, very within. I was very shy. And but I was told very young, and I believe that it was God that told me that I'm here to be a teacher of the heart. Mm. And so even though that I was shy, I had a really important mission. And so my superpower, and I want you to know, and all the listeners to know, that we all have a superpower. And it was something that happened when we were a child, and we may have forgotten it. But this superpower I've never forgotten, and I still use it to this day. So my superpower is my smile. I can bless people with my smile, and I can change their state of being. And even as a child, being afraid, because I create this belief that I wasn't safe. But when I would see somebody sad, I would make sure that I got in front of them and I looked at them and I would smile really big. Like, I'm going to say it, like a Care Bear stared them, right? So it's like I just infused from my heart and from my smile so much love to them. And it's like I would always get back this, like, if someone had a frown, like all of a sudden they would just start to smile and they would say, thank you so much. And in fact, I just want to share really quickly this experience I had when I was at actually Trader Joe's. And it was an older gentleman who's the cashier, and you can tell something was really upsetting him. Okay, so he was not even looking at any of the customers. So I made sure, I'm like, okay, here's my opportunity. All right, little one, let's see your superpower come out. And so when it was my turn and I got close to him, I just beamed and I just smiled. I said nothing to him. And he stopped what he was doing and he looked at me and he put his hand over his heart, tears running down his eyes. He said, thank you so much. That is exactly what I needed. It's like just he needed some acknowledgement. He needed to be seen in that moment. And it was just something, his state changed. So so even through the challenges that I had as a child, and I, from that belief that I created that was part of my identity, I'm not safe and I don't belong. I was one of those kids that at a party I would be hiding behind the plant, right? I didn't want to be seen, but I also wanted to be part of everything. So I would just behind the scenes, right? I would be that light. I was a closet light most of my life, right? Shining bright in the closet, but I'm not doing that anymore, because if I was, I wouldn't be here right now. And the biggest shift for me was connecting with all my inner children, to let them know that you're safe. I got you. I see you. You belong.
That's beautiful. Wow. And by you shining your light, it makes it okay for others to shine theirs. So that is absolutely wonderful and beautiful. And I will say this, when you smiled at me, I felt like, oh, yay, this really is going to be fun. So I got to experience too. So, thank you for that. I just, a lot of people underestimate their gifts. They're like, David and Goliath is just it could just be just a smile, but it makes a huge difference. And it's the energy and the intention behind it that makes such a huge difference in other people's lives. And I'm just curious for the audience, how did you two end up working together towards the same project?
That's a really cool story. So we'd known each other for about a year through some mutual friends. And I got to a point in my life where I'd put off what I call my real work, my spiritual life work, as long as I could. And I got very clear messages. It was time to quit the job I currently had and get about doing what I'm here to do. So I did. And at that point, I had like a paycheck left in my account. And I called Wendy up because I was thinking of people who I knew that were doing what I wanted to do. And at that time, it was massage therapy. And I needed a way. I've always had a way of, similar to Wendy, looking at someone and knowing immediately in their body where they hurt and what kind of hurt it was. And I started working on people at 4 years old, and I would just touch their body and be like, wow, you went right to the pain. Still do it to this day. So I knew I had a gift. I knew I had something to, kind of build on, but I wanted something certifiable that I felt people would understand, relate to, and respect. AKA, pay for as well, because I need to make a living as we all do. So I called Wendy up figuring, what, she's been doing this. I haven't really spoken to her yet, but I want someone to kind of, show me what the next step is. So we talked, and she said, well, I don't teach massage, but I do this thing called integrated energy therapy, IET. Maybe something that you've heard of it. And I said, well, I'm interested. She says, well, come on over and try a session out, see what it's like. And the kind of healing that happened on multiple levels of my being in that one session were incredible heart healings, incredible releases of what I've been carrying in me for years. And not necessarily, painful stuff in terms of what was holding me back, but some very significant personal relationships that had ended that I was very still pining for. And just that general ongoing sense of worry, doubt, anxiety that we all walk with, that just is this disembodied, conditioned thing we just have. And that didn't go away, but it diminished significantly. And I had a freedom and a sense of self, an unburied sense of self that was like, well, here I am. Okay, I'm intrigued. So I took my last paycheck and I gave it all to her and said, teach me. And so I took a weekend class with her, and it was incredible. And the outcome of the class is that I was a practitioner. I was a certified practitioner of this modality, so I could start a business doing it. But we kept hanging out because I still wanted to kind of get an inroad of understanding my massage techniques better, work with someone who could give me feedback. So we traded for a while, about a month. And then similar to, and this is a long answer to a really good question, what we both had to come to, I was coming to in my life, was self-love. And that was really the beginning for both of us, but I'll speak for myself. Nothing significant can change in my life till I fell in love with myself. And I'd finally gotten that message through a bunch of different ways. And I bought a houseplant, and I just started to enjoy coming home again. Literally, I would come home. I looked forward to getting home to my houseplant to love on it, because finally there was love in my house again. As simple as that. That was one way. So we connected, and we both, on this one trading session, we had this significant heart opening and a healing and a releasing. And then we always end with a hug. And we had a plan to go out to a friend's open mic that evening. But this hug that we ended with felt like 5 minutes, but it was actually 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And time stopped. It was one of those things where time literally disappeared. We left our bodies. Strange as that may seem, but those of you who've experienced this know that it's true. We felt like we were sea kelp floating together in the ocean. We felt like we were dust clouds in space just coming together. It was the most surreal experience with another person of my entire life. And that was when we knew, we came back to our bodies, saw each other's eyes, and went, oh, it's you.
You're the one.
Homecoming. And it was like a whole series of like mechanisms just snapped into place. And that search was over in so many ways. Not just the search for a companion and a soul to share life with, but other things I didn't have names for. Just my humanity just went, context. Here we go. So
yes,
that's how we came together. Self-love has been our journey. Our own healing has been our journey. And when we came together, our relationship has been and continues to be a vehicle and a container and a byproduct of that journey of self-love for ourselves, but also now we get to have super friends doing it together, where we can hold space for each other, we can trigger each other, challenge each other, grow each other, and be a mirror for each other, and enjoy the journey as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that so much. And I appreciate what you're saying too, because, one thing that I find is that the language in general, it doesn't really encompass so much of what life is, much like, we are in these little bodies, but we're so much more than just what's in these little bodies. So, I understand what you mean by, it's just so much more. It was more than, just like a partnership. It's just like, there you are. But not that you are incomplete or anything like that. It's just right. An added like, okay, this makes sense. Homecoming. Homecoming. That's a really good way to put it. So, you mentioned self-love, and that's the main reason why I'm very interested in speaking with the both of you, because I've discovered as well that it has everything to do with how your life looks, including your finances. I mean, down to every little bit is what is reflected outward is what's inward. So what to you is self-love?
Awesome.
There's so much there. Yeah. For me, self-love, and I used to be very, along my healing journey, I would just fluff things up. Like, it was uncomfortable for me to get really angry. And, but what I realized, real self-love is really to look at all those things that I've hidden, repressed, and denied. And to really look, like literally roll out the red carpet and come on out. I don't care how ugly and grotesque that you may be, that has been suppressed. I'm here to hold beautiful space for that emotion, for that part of myself that's been hidden, to be seen and to be heard. So it's going in, and this is why we do the inner child work. It's because it's all those disassociated parts of ourselves that it's like, no, I'm just not going to look at that, but really the wholeness of self-love is to look at all that, look at what you're most afraid of. And fear, I'm looking at fear a totally different way now. Fear to me means face everything and rise.
Ooh, I like that. It's much better than false evidence appearing real.
Face everything and rise. And so that's like a game changer. Because once you face it, you're not going to get swallowed up and eaten alive. I'm still here. But it's a way to just give that part of that's been wanting to express itself, even if it's through rage, if it's through screaming, or if it's whatever it is. It's okay. And once it's seen and heard, it just goes away. And there's this total openness and freedom. Right? Our whole life is based on self-love. It's so important for him to love himself more than me.
Yes.
That is so key. And I will hold that space. And, you hear that saying like, oh, well, who are you to, why don't you get off your high horse? No, get on your high horse. Self-love is get on your high horse and fly high for all to see, for you to be you unapologetically.
I think that that's a really good point too, because especially in the United States, we're really taught to fit in. We're really taught to conform. We're really taught to keep everything to ourselves and be like everybody else. And, if you toot your own horn, all of a sudden, you're not modest and all these things, but why can't you celebrate yourself? I've never really understood that. No, I love that idea because life is supposed to be fun. Life is supposed, it's as much as possible. It's about growth and expansion. Don't get me wrong. But why does it have to be a chore? Why does it, why can't it be a game or interesting to look at the fear instead of, oh gosh, I have to do this today? Why can't it be something like, okay, let's see what I can unpack today and look at.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or a big thing that when we work with clients, they're so afraid to say no.
Yeah.
Right? Because real self-love, when you say no to someone or something, you're saying yes to yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And it's kind of like when you don't have your own plan for your life, somebody else will have one for you. Same idea, So I love that so much. That's amazing. And then, so my next question though, is you mentioned inner child, and some people watching might not understand what you mean by inner child.
Awesome. The inner child is incredible. So think of it like we all have a past, right? We all have those memories, those impressions, all those things that happened to us early on in life, good and bad, that became our perspective, that became our judgments, that became our identity. And some of the stuff wrapped up in that is really happy, good stuff, and other stuff wrapped up can be some very gruesome, horrible stuff. I mean, if you look at the statistics, 65% of American adults have endured some form of sexual abuse in their lives. All right, if it's happened to you and you're thinking you're the only one, you're not. There's a lot more of us than are, So the inner child is this collection of memories, thoughts, impressions, and energy that we can still access. And more than that, the inner child is us. So as an exercise, let's get some proof here, because it's easy to say something and it sounds really good, and then if I have enough authority with you and you decide you like me, then I guess you'll believe me. But let's take that aside, put that away, because that's not a good way to stand on proof. Let's bring it in and give a test. I want each of you to take a moment and think about yourself as a child. And maybe you're 5 years old. Maybe you're 6 or 7. Maybe you're at school. Maybe you're being bullied, or maybe you're winning a race and really having a great time. Think of a memory of yourself as a child right now. And then do you feel the emotions that are present in that memory? And do you hear the thoughts that are present in that moment, in that part of yourself right now? And that's a really fun experience. And that's part of the work we do, is check in. How's your inner child doing? Is this moment that you're having in life today, triggering and taking you back to, or reminding you of, or maybe it's less, verbal and less conscious. And is it just triggering a feeling that is maybe disembodied, or maybe, has just always been there, but you're not sure why? And if you peel back and you dig enough, you realize, oh, I didn't feel safe at this age because this was going on in my household, or I suddenly lost this person, this uncle, and no one ever talked about it. I never got closure. I just was young enough, no one thought it bothered me, and I just got tucked aside. So many different kind of things can happen to us that leave their mark. And when we don't go back and complete that part of ourselves, we stay stuck. One of the terms you're familiar with is dissociation. And the reason we dissociate at any age, whether it's infancy or at age 64 or older, is because what we're experiencing in a given moment is more than we can psychologically, emotionally process. And so our wonderful brains are geared for survival. And so to survive, to move through the moment, we block it out, we numb it, we squash it down. And if we don't go back and redress it, that's going to show up. That footprint's going to be there, and it's going to come out sideways down the road, down the pike later. It's going to look for evidence to reinforce itself down the road. So that might show up in other relationships, other patterns that you're living, where it might create those patterns in order to gain more evidence of why you're not safe. See, I'm not safe, I told you. And you know, and causation and correlation aren't always, you know, accurate, but it doesn't matter. When there's energy and strength, there's something there. So the inner child has good meanings and hurtful meanings. And so if we don't know what they are and we're just letting them run our lives, we set ourselves up for some really big problems, mostly just because of being unaware, unresolved. And those parts of, but another big piece is why this is so much fun to work with is that what we've dissociated is amazing power. It's our creativity, it's our playfulness, it's our safety and belonging. And I mean, when you think of a human being, you might think of, you know, some jerk on the side of the road having road rage or some amazing inventor, but really we're all that and more. I mean, think of humanity in its all of its history. We have such potential. Now think of that potential being sliced away and a piece being tucked away, unavailable to you, piece by piece by piece. And by the time we become adults, we've done this little separation of self, diminishing of self, hundreds, if not thousands of times. And on top of that, we've learned, like, okay, again, statistically, we have about 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day, as opposed to thinking. That's different, but 80,000 thoughts a day, and about 60% of them are negative. So there's this automatic programming is sitting on top of these and is part of what these other little diminishings of self are, which is why other things, like you mentioned earlier, so much people pleasing, we're afraid to say no, or we don't celebrate ourselves. But we're really quick to, like, you know, criticize and tag ourselves and call ourselves out, but we hide in shame. So the inner child is really carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. And until we go in and we free them and we just knock that off and we de-script the programming and we make peace and we forgive and we get the graces, the spiritual gifts flowing back in our lives, whatever religion background you might come from or none, there is a higher power. There is something bigger than us that we can tap into, whether you call it the quantum field or God, doesn't matter. It's there. And you can utilize it. You can tap into it because it's available to you. So there's lots of ways that we use to do that. But essentially, the inner child is us and all the stuff we're carrying. Just because you might be chronologically 24 years old or 30 or 80, you're you. Or at 5, you are you.
Yeah.
So where you're at in your timeline is just a nice little, you know, easy term to say, oh yeah, my childhood, inner child. So it does focus on a certain, you know, timeline spot, but you can also go to your timeline. I mean, we're very interestingly nonlinear in certain ways. We have memories. We can immediately through a memory or a moment be triggered and sent back 30 years and realize but then we can also not change the script, but change our energy, change our relationship dynamic, our meanings to what happened to us. And we can free ourselves and we can reclaim that power and bring it back available in our lives. And that's transformative. I mean, that is nothing less than remarkable transformation in our fingertips if we only know how to access it. And that's what Wendy and I had to do for ourselves. And that's what we've turned around and can now do for others. And it is the most satisfying work for us to do. And it makes a lot of sense that we had the life we had so we can do what we do. So I know I tend to balloon in my answers, but I think I gave a lot of fun.
No, it was all wonderful. So we do have to go to commercial break, but we'll be right back. And when we come back, we're going to have a special treat. So we'll be back after these messages. Okay.
Awesome.
Oh, this is so much fun. Yay. It's even better than I expected. So for those of you who are watching us live, as always, you are more than appreciated. And as I mentioned, we do have to go to commercial break. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Now, you can vibrationally align your aura. You can gain a larger and spiritual perspective on life, relationships, God, people, wellness, and money. You can also have moments of meditation and reflection any time of the day. and reading the thrilling, adventurous, and mystical story of Shiga will just add more faith to your daily experience of the mystery of the universe.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, my name is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness. And we have a couple of very special guests right now, Wendy Rose and Sam Haynes. Let's bring them back on. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here.
You know, before we get going, I want to make sure that we put up your website so that anybody who's watching now will have an opportunity to take a look and find you and write this down, because since we're on TV, they have to write it down. They can't just click on it. But I know that you wanted to do a special something with our audience today. So, Wendy?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want everybody to I'm going to take them to connect to one of their inner children, one of their little selves. Okay. So wherever you are, if you're in a place where you can close your eyes, I invite you to do that. If you're not, then keep your eyes open. And just take 1 or 2 deep breaths. Now I invite you to imagine yourself in a beautiful place in nature. This is a place where you feel safe. It may be a familiar place or a new place. So just take in, what is it that you see around you? You feel the sun warming your skin. Just take note of what you hear. Do you hear the birds? So as you're just enjoying yourself in this beautiful place in nature, you noticed off in the distance what looks like a glowing light. It's a very safe, inviting light. So as you walk towards it, you see that it's an archway of light and a doorway. And as you get closer to it, you see that there's a beautiful presence. It may be your guardian angel. It may be a saint. It may be a higher power that you feel most connected with in this moment. And so they are there welcoming you. And so when you arrive, they open up this doorway of light and you walk through with them. And you notice you're in an even more beautiful place, what we call your heart garden. And so your heart garden may not necessarily be just a garden. It could be the beach. But it's a place where you feel most connected with. And you see a couple feet in front of you, one of your inner children. And so go up to this little part of you. And reach out your hands. And see and welcome them into your arms. And they may want to come and you can hold this little part of yourself. And if not, that's okay. Just be there with them. And you can ask them, is there anything that you need in this moment? And you're there just holding space, whether you're holding them or you're just right beside them, letting them know that they're safe and you're not going to leave them. You're right there. And so this beautiful being, this higher power of love and light, places their hand on you and your little part of your little yourself. And there's this light that goes between you. And there's a healing that's happening in this moment. And so just allow it and receive it. So you and your inner child is receiving an abundance of gifts and miracles and blessings in this moment. Now this beautiful being of light is holding your beautiful inner child and keeping them safe. And so you go and you face this beautiful archway, this doorway of light, and you walk through it back to this beautiful place in nature. And then you find yourself back inside your body, grounding your energy, feeling yourself on the chair, wherever you are. Knowing that you and your little inner child received a beautiful blessing. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I feel so at peace now. I know I'm not the only one. So if people want to work with you, because I'm sure from watching this that you'll have people who want to reach out, how can they reach out to you?
Sure. So the best thing to do is, you can see this here, is to go here, wendyrose.com/innerchild, all one word. And there is a great way where you can get on our booking calendar and get on the phone with us. We offer a free call because it's the best way for us to really get a sense of what's working in your life, what's not working in your life, what are your challenges, what are your goals, and get a sense of, can we support you? Are we the right match? And if we are, great, then we can talk about that. And if we feel that something would serve you better, then we'll steer you in that direction. Because the most important thing is that you get your outcome. If we are not a part of your journey, we don't need to be in it, But very often we might be a stepping stone towards a resource that would serve you better. But we offer that conversation because it's a valuable thing to give to the world, and you're worth it. And we found that it's the best way to solve two problems: your questions and our way of serving. So I'll leave that up again at wendyrose.com/innerchild, and come on there, book a call, and we will look forward to speaking with you.
Love to speak with you.
I love that. And how long is the call?
45 minutes.
45 minutes? Okay.
It seems to be a little longer.
Yeah.
That's
And
very
it's like
generous.
45 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. We hold part of who we are is we hold such beautiful, sacred, safe space.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it takes a little while to get there. So I appreciate that you're so generous with your time. That is not common these days. So
Well, thankfully, there's a big paradigm shift happening in the world right now on many, many levels, right? Which the folks here are probably really aware of. But that's also in how entrepreneurs like ourselves run our business, right? We have come from a past of overgiving, and we're balancing out that way of, okay, what are the healthy boundaries that we can overgive into? But really, it comes back to, this kind of circles back to the self-love thing. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things is give from your overflow.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
Exactly.
things that we really had to learn as entrepreneurs, but also just as people walking down the street. So much of our lives we spend overgiving, and we are then run dry. I mean, raise your hand if you've done that one, and are doing it too much. But when you change that first paradigm shift and you fill yourself up, so many things have to happen just by the byproduct of you giving yourself permission to receive.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know all the things that will change, but if you give yourself permission to receive and make a rule in your life that you will give from your overflow,
Mm-hmm.
then your life is going to look a lot different real fast. And that goes on health, but that goes on finances too.
Mm-hmm.
At every other level. You're just going to participate. You're going to think about life differently. You're going to have a whole different mindset if you just change that one rule and you stick with it and you stay curious. So just a couple little hacks that you can work in there.
No, and I love that, because a lot of people feel very comfortable with the giving, but the receiving part seems to be difficult, especially if you tend to be heart-centered and a spiritual person. It's almost like you just want to give it all away, but it doesn't work with the laws of the universe very well. And therefore, it can cause some issues there. But I have a friend, and I'm going to misquote him, unfortunately, because I think I'm maybe, but it is to give without restrictions and receive without resistance. Chris Salem. And I just love that, because receive without resistance. And even a compliment. If you can't handle a compliment, how do you expect to handle the bigger things that are handed to you? And, with gratitude. Yeah. No, that's such an important thing. I love that you shared that, because I think that's missing a lot these days. So,
yeah. And right back to your point earlier too of not celebrating ourselves. One of our mentors, and I don't know if it's his, but he says it all the time, that gratitude is the next door neighbor to abundance.
Ooh, I like that.
If you want abundance in your life and you're struggling to have it, get grateful, live in it, find ways to celebrate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And not just for the current stuff, he has this, recommends constantly have a brag book, write down your victory journal, some way where you're keeping the score of your successes. So when times do get tough and doubt really raises its ugly head, you have some real evidence to go in with and say, you know what, I can win. I am a winner because I have won, and here's where. And it's not always about the trophies on the wall, though they're important too. It's also about the acts of kindness that you've done in your life.
Exactly. And back to something that you're saying, it's easier to believe all the negative stuff that we tell ourselves than the positive stuff. So I think it's so important to celebrate all the little small wins, no matter what they are, because that will also give you momentum in those times when you don't feel like doing whatever it is that, you're here to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I love that. So I don't always ask this question, but I'm curious because, with self-love being your life, how you want to live, how do you start your mornings?
It's a good one. Do you want to start?
Yeah, well, I started off even before I get out of bed. I start off with gratitude. What is it that I'm grateful for in the moment? And that's just like, oh my God, I got the most comfortable bed and it's warm and I'm next to my beloved, and whatever it is you're thankful for in that moment, that's how I start. And then I give thanks for my challenges. What is it that, I'm looking to face? And I give thanks for them because that's builds my spiritual muscle, that makes me more of who I am, And so the more that I can be grateful for my challenges, then I can be more of a powerful stand for my clients, for their greatness. And so I start off with that, and then I do even in bed, I do my breathing, where I breathe 10 times through my belly and then breathe 10 times through my, rib cage and then my heart. So I start off with there. And then the next thing is I'm big with believing in hydrating yourself. I think hydration is so important. I think this whole world is so dehydrated that there's a chronic. So the first thing I do is I actually fill up my 25-ounce bottle of warm water and I drink it while I'm looking at myself in the mirror and celebrating myself and giving more gratitude. And also, most important is that I get really excited about my dreams. Like they're already here. So as I'm drinking my water, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm just excited about what I'm manifesting or that I've already manifested and what it feels like. And so I get that feeling in my body. And then I do a whole routine called a Nora warm-up, where I just go through each part of my body and I wake up like I just, my face and I just love each part of my body because boy, I never loved myself or even my body. That was the biggest thing for me. Yeah. And so for me to just go in and just, touch and soothe each part of my body and give it thanks and that I love you. That's really how I start my day.
That's powerful. That's absolutely powerful. And, something that helped me too when I was learning to love my body was I kind of researched it to understand how powerful it was. Because there's things like your big toe. Whoever thinks about their big toe, but it helps us balance. It helps us stand and walk. And, without that, most people can't even stand up. And so, every little bit of us is so important, and we take it for granted that our heart beats itself. We don't have to make it, or, we don't have to think about breathing. Typically it just happens. That being said, most people breathe shallowly and, not with power. So that is a little bit different, but that's amazing. We are running low on time. We've got about 5 minutes left. Is there anything that you'd love to share with the viewers today?
So much.
I know it goes so quick, doesn't it?
I'd love to circle back to what one of your questions of what self-love is, and it's for me, it's a standard for my life. It's something that's non-negotiable. It's a set of rules, loving rules, but rules because it's just the right word for it. And one of those rules is I start my day with play. For me, I notice if I get out of playfulness, I get into seriousness, then I very quickly get into despair, and then I create isolation from that place. And that's just about the pits. Playfulness opens me up and it keeps my creativity flowing. And in there, I create a very engaging world that I like to live in. So it's a standard that keeps me, I would say honest, but it's this rule that acknowledges a natural force. Like I am a natural force. I have certain powers, conditions, and talents, and a mission here. So my rules support that. So that self-love standard, you're all going to have your own. But I invite you to even just take 10 minutes today and think about what your standards are in relationships, in life, in career. I mean, you can spend a year and work out your rules, but just take 10 minutes and think about what gets by? What do you let slide? What are you minimizing? What are you normalizing? What have you normalized that doesn't fit? And what rule would you need to change to protect yourself in that area? And then try living it once, twice, just build up some momentum, give yourself grace. I accept myself where I'm at every day. And some days I wake up and I'm great and I'm ready to go. Other days I need to make peace with myself first and realize, okay, I'm bringing in an energy. Maybe I'm feeling an energy, or maybe I'm facing something on my calendar that is bringing up some stuff. Great. I don't have to be fairies and sunshine to get up and do something good. I have to be able to show up.
Yeah.
And so if showing up is the most important thing. Even if I don't feel ready, I may never feel ready. If I show up, great things will happen. So I'm so glad to be here.
I love that. I just have to show you. I have my little wooden flute that I play to remind me to have fun and enjoy myself. So whenever I start getting serious while I'm working, I whip out my flute.
I love it.
That's awesome.
And Wendy, what about you? Is there anything else that you'd love to share?
Yeah, when you heal the inner child, you heal generations. And when you heal generations, you heal the world.
Yeah.
And so you're invited to step into be you unapologetically. And if you don't know what your superpower is, again, give yourself 10 minutes, time it, and write down and ask, what is my superpower? And then just allow yourself to start writing, and see what shows up for you. Or just go into a meditation and ask, what is my superpower? Because we all have it. And then when you tap into that superpower, then you're going to tap more into, who you are and what your purpose is. And then that steps into getting to that place of self-love. It's like, give to yourself first. Be your first priority. And then give from your overflow.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yes, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So, well, I just want to say, yeah, makes it kind of hard, right?
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. And would you mind putting up that little one more time? Yeah, so that people can reach out to you. I love that.
Yes.
It's been such a pleasure and a joy to sit with you for an hour. And
really amazing.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you. And hopefully you'll be back on the show again soon.
Anytime.
Oh, we would love it. We would absolutely love it. And we look forward to hearing from the viewers.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're stand for your greatness.
Yeah.
We got you.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
All right.
Great.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Many blessings.
Oh, that is all the time that we have for today. And thank you to our special guest. And once again, thank you to those of you who are watching us live. And we will see you again soon.